Okay, so we were talking about Adam and Eve being born and and then being tempted of the devil and partaking of the forbidden fruit, and Adam and Eve fell from a higher dimension of light to this dimension of light, which is the visible light spectrum, and at this level of existence, there were other people living on the earth. Okay, but the DNA of these people had been contaminated by nuclear fallout. And so when Adam and Eve came to this level of existence, they were prohibited from intermarrying with the people that were here. And so Adam and Eve began to have children. Now, the Bible only mentions 3 of Adam and Eve's children, and they were sons. Cain and Abel and Seth. But Adam and Eve had a lot of children. I mean, figure this, that Adam lived over 900 years of age. And in those days, they took this commandment to be fruitful and to multiply very seriously. In 900 years, Adam and Eve probably had a lot of kids. And back at that point in time, there was no law against incest. I mean, you're talking about pure genetics. I mean, there is no flaw. There are no mutations. And so for brothers and sisters to marry, I mean, Adam and Eve, they were brother and sister. They married and they started having children. And their children coupled up and started having children. And it's very, very likely that Adam took wives from his children or even grandchildren. Who knows how long Adam was bearing children? It just doesn't say. But like I say, these people took the commandment to be fruitful and to multiply very seriously. They didn't limit their families to just 1 or 2 kids or 3 or 4 kids. They had kids. They had a ton of kids. And, there was no law against polygamy. And it wasn't uncommon for men to have several wives. But anyway, the population of the children of Adam and Eve grew exponentially, and you're talking about people who were very gifted people. I mean, they were people that had communication with God. Especially the patriarchs. These were not like people are today, a bunch of dummies spiritual dummies. I mean, these people were very spiritually gifted people. The people that were the pre-Adamites, they were not so gifted because of the contaminations in their bodies, because of the nuclear war that had destroyed their DNA, or at least crippled it. But anyway, so then we come to the story of Cain and Abel. And so there's Cain and Abel, and Adam has taught them the nature of sacrifice. And the story we have in the Bible is just a little bit sketchy. But there is another book that's available that tells a little bit more in depth of what was going on. And basically what it comes down to is that Cain, because his offering was rejected, okay, and why was his offering rejected? His offering was rejected because he didn't do it for the right reason. He was doing it for pride. He wasn't doing it because it was the right thing to do. And his offering was rejected. Well, Abel's offering was accepted. And so Cain was tempted of the devil to lust after his brother's flocks and herds. And the devil inspired him to kill his brother, and then all of Abel's flocks and herds would be his. And so that's what Cain did. He killed Abel, and in so doing, to take over Abel's flocks and herds. Okay, and so Cain became the first, I don't know what you would call it, the first secret society person who had a secret, who made a secret pact with the devil. The devil helped Cain obtain his brother's property and killed his brother and so on. And Cain became the head of a secret society. And as we continue into the story, his children continued into this secret society of how to murder for gain. And but anyway, that's another history that isn't really in the Bible, but it's still a true history. Unfortunately, once the devil got in, it was hard to get him out. And generations of people perished in unbelief because of the devil's influence. Okay, so Abel was dead, but here's the thing about Abel is that he had probably already had children. But still in all, the birthright of the patriarch fell not upon Abel's children, but upon Seth, who was another righteous son of Adam and Eve. So he wasn't like a grandson, he was the son. Okay, so the next notable patriarch is the patriarch Enoch. Now, Enoch was called of God to go and preach to the children of Adam and Eve that had not followed in the ways of God. Okay, it's just like every generation, there are those who follow God and those who do not. And Enoch was called to go preach to a group of people who had not been following the ways of God. So he went and preached the gospel and preached repentance to these people, and they repented and they built a great city. And there was a city called of the city of Enoch. And the Bible tells us that Enoch walked and talked with God, and when he was 375 years old, something like that, that he was taken. He was taken into heaven. Well, it wasn't just him. He was taken into heaven with his whole city. Okay? And it appears that what brought about the city be taken into heaven was the giants. That there were giants in the land in those days, and the giants were threatening Enoch and his city, and because of the giants threatening the city, the whole city was taken up into heaven without tasting death. They were transported up into a higher level, a higher dimension, without tasting death. That's kind of the history up to the time of Enoch. So in the next little segment I'm going to be talking about Noah.